Since I was 16 and I got out of school, I've pretty much practiced like 3 or 4 hours a day. And I've always felt driven to be getting better. I always wanted to get better. And that was kind of like the thing that makes me feel most joyous. For whatever reason, the feeling of improving and the feeling that my brain can do things that it couldn't do. But about 28, I kind of felt a frustration that it felt like more and more diminishing returns. I was working harder and harder and harder to get a bit of list a little bit faster or a little bit cleaner. And then, you listen to some other pianist like Kissin play and think, oh no, that was even better. Oh, I've got to try and get that level. And at 28, I totally recalibrated my idea of what it meant to be good at an instrument. Rather than looking at how fast and how clean, it's how many speeds and how many permutations of speeds, and then how many ways can you juggle those speeds and how many ways can you change and switch those speeds. And there's all these new areas of difficulty to explore that I was right at the beginning of. So I wanted to randomize my practice in a way that meant I was always doing something new with my brain and not falling into ruts, not falling into grooves, as I see everyone around me doing. It's like it more came from a criticism of everyone's just doing the same thing and seeing they fall into the groove. Well, how can I prevent that happening myself? So I made this system, 96 modes. And then I can roll a dice. So this is what the dice represent. So you've got, first of all, I've got a cubic dice here, which tells me which of the 6 sectors I'm going to use. And the 2 tetrahedrons tell me, within that sector, which of the boxes to play. Because 2 tetrahedrons, 4 times 4, 16 boxes. Then I've got a dodecahedron, 12-sided, to tell me what key I'm starting in, because there's 12 keys. So it's this particular scale in this particular key. Then I've got a dodecahedron, another key, to tell me what key I'm going to land in. I'm going to modulate. So I'm moving from one key to another key within that mode. The black and white dice tell me where I start on this chart here, which is my polyrhythms. This tells me which polyrhythms to play. So I can, if I've got a 5 and a 4 there, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 5, so that'll be 7 over 3. And then I've got isosahedral dice for the phase patterns here, whether it's 6-phase, a 2-phase, a 3-phase, a 4-phase, or a 5-phase, and what kind of phase pattern these are. So I've got like arpeggio phase patterns, scale phase patterns, repeating note phase patterns, and phase patterns with gaps in. And from there, I can make a note of what I've done. So for instance here, this tells me on which date, what sector I'm in, what group I'm in, what key I'm in, what key I'm going into, what my phase patterns are. That's the box that corresponds to up here. And it's from that, really, that all the things I'm doing in the recording, or at least half the things, have grown from those improvisations. So it's like randomness, because is there randomness in the universe? Is there actually randomness, or is there supreme intelligence and every single thing is exactly perfect? And is all of these dice throws completely, exactly perfect? I wonder. I'm open to that idea. It's probably, I've had the chart for a year, but there have been charts before that chart, lesser charts, which have been going on for 3 or 4 years. I've been playing with modes, exploring what modes are usable, how usable, what modes are possible even, what modes do, It's like if you have this scale and you pull the chords out, what happens? Mixing the modes with the polyrhythm really excites me enormously. The kind of sounds that come out, the combination of those two things. They're 2 kinds of new things, but very, very, very different in their mathematicalness and their mathematical conceptualization. The idea is that it's alive, and I wanted to bring that sense of aliveness that I've been working on to a record. Even as I look at them in this book, if I play any of these now, they'd be completely new. They would never have been played that way before. And that is exciting for me. I'm not a fan of playing something that I know how it's going to go. I want every track to fade in and fade out. That was like the concept of the record. I want every track to fade in and fade out because everything is transition. Everything's always in transition all the time. There isn't a sort of a beginning point and an end point. The mind wants an end a lot of the time, or beginning, or makes beginnings and makes ends, but they're usually, the whole idea of beginnings and ends is a little bit burdensome. There's a constant transition in life. The new album is 31 semi-improvised pieces. There are 16 which are polyrhythmic, multi-tempo. There are 8 that are free time, they've got no tempo, so they're just timeless. There's another 4, I call them Q beats. They're strict tempo, but they're very scattered, unpredictable rhythms. I've got 2 which are continually slowing down, and I've got 1 which uses harmonics. Your whole experience of time is what I'm interested in the record. So for the listener, they're experiencing time, hopefully, in very different ways. Each piece has got a different kind of loop. Like if you could imagine lots of planets, each with its own system of seasons, and different kinds of seasons on different planets depending on the stars and all that kind of stuff. Each one has got its own seasons, it's got its own repeating loops, but they're different every time. They don't come back to the same place, they come back to a similar kind of place, a similar sort of thing. So from the listener's point of view, you are fading into this world that's going on, and then you come out of it with the impression that it's always been going on and it will continue to go on after you've left. Nature is definitely the biggest inspiration. If you look at trees, look at water, and all the really, really beautiful things, they're beautiful because there's these underlying mathematical laws which are finding expression in these things. You know, all of the laws of nature are contriving towards making all this beauty. And so with the pieces, I'm trying to make laws, polyrhythmic laws, phasing laws, modal laws, structural laws, that if I can make good laws, then something interesting or beautiful should come out of it. And it's like, that's kind of the way I'm thinking. How is nature beautiful? Why is nature beautiful? To understand that. And I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested in the beauty of nature, and the mathematics of it, sure, but lots of different aspects of it. The patterns of waves on the water, for example, the way they move over each other and they create an interference pattern. So you've got the waves from the swan going this way, and you've got the waves from a boat coming back this way, and as they cross each other, they make an interference pattern, just like 2 different speeds. As they cross each other, they make an interference pattern of the 2 speeds, which is like a multi-dimensional kind of pattern. The polyrhythm particularly, one of the kind of intentions or one of its designs is that it can jumble the mind so much as to still the mind, you know? Like when there's too much going on to be able to pick out, that your mind just sort of just steps back and just allows it. In that moment, I think one can have an experience of something different, maybe something deeper, maybe something transcendental.